Hey, this is James here with the Oracle Outlook for the week starting April the 27th, 2020. Thanks so much for tuning in and joining me for this week's video reading. I am so happy to have you here. I was giving some thought as to what deck system I wanted to work with for this week's Oracle Outlook because I didn't have a request. That trend has ended, right? If you've been following over the last few weeks, you will know that each system that I worked with over the last few weeks was due to a viewer request, a viewer who asked me to work with that particular system for that particular week. But those requests, like I said, have run out. So I had to get back to thinking about or reflecting on or giving some consideration as to what deck system I wanted to work with. So I went down my list and I realized that because of the trend with those requests, which were Lenormand and Kipper and Gypsy Witch cards and Gypsy cards, they do all have a similar kind of feel or vibe, at least I think, as a person who works with them. And that is that they tend to be a little more grounded, and they were speaking a lot about the collective experience that we're all going through with coronavirus or COVID-19, right? And so with that in mind, I decided it's been a while since I worked with my staple, the playing cards. So I decided I wanted to work with a playing card deck, and I'm working with one of my absolute favorite playing card decks, and that is, surprise surprise, it is a Bicycle brand. It is the Bicycle Vintage Classic deck, and it was a deck that I backed on Kickstarter, so I don't know if it's available in stores. Actually, I'm misspeaking, because as I'm talking about that, I do remember seeing this in a Walgreens. So if you happen to be near a Walgreens and you fancy the cards in the reading and you want to check out the deck further, you may want to go to your local Walgreens and hopefully it will be there. But again, I'm working with the Bicycle Vintage Classic deck. And so now that I've set things up, let's get to the table and see what the playing cards want to say about the week ahead. And here we are with the cards on the table, and I'm going to take a few moments to shuffle the deck. And just as I do every week, I'm focusing on my intention for the information, for the insight, and for any guidance or advice to come through the cards that's going to be most helpful and beneficial as we move through the upcoming week. Feeling one more time will be good. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut the deck. Fan the cards out. And now I'm looking for 5 cards in the fan that are getting my attention, because I'm continuing to work with a line of 5. So I have my 5 cards selected. Now I'm going to take the remainder of the deck up. And we'll move that to one side. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Counting back. Now I'm going to lay them out in a line from left to right. Taking a moment to straighten out the line here. All right. All right, so what I'm going to do to start things off is I'm going to look at the middle card first, The middle card for me always represents the central issue or the focus for the week ahead. And taking a look at this card, we have the Six of Diamonds. And so I find this card very interesting right off the bat, what's coming to me in light of what's going on with the collective experience with coronavirus and all the things that we're having to do because of that. The first thing that comes to me is that this is a focus on computers. I think of computers and technology with this card. So there is a focus of, while we're still practicing social distancing and as some businesses and things are starting to reopen because of the economy, and I will also say this, as I mentioned the word economy, the suit of diamonds is the suit that represents money and finance and material concerns. And then the number 6 is all about two things, communication and responsibility. So there may be things about financial responsibilities, and I'm seeing that with the whole idea about some states reopening for business, trying to restart the economy in some way. And so there's that. But I was going to say with my original point is, even as that's taking place, people who are still practicing social distancing are doing things online, probably more and more. So I'm seeing a focus on that. And that would make sense because, again, going back to the 6 being about communication, we are now communicating more online or using technology more as a means of communication, right? So I'm seeing two things there. Number 1, still focusing on using technology to communicate. And then number 2, financial responsibilities, and I'm seeing that with the idea of businesses reopening. And with that, there's going to be some responsibility on the business owners or the companies or organizations' part in terms of how they are going to respond to the needs of what we need to practice with the coronavirus, things like that. So I'm seeing that. So there's going to be responsibility on the business's part in terms of the reopening process, right? So that's what I'm seeing with the 6 of Diamonds. I may feel inclined to come back to that as the other cards reveal themselves and offer more information about the central issue. So now let's take a look at the card on the far left. And here we have, so here we have the 3 of Spades. So this makes perfect sense, opening the line up in light of what I said with the 6 of Diamonds here in the middle. I'm going to start with what I said about the businesses that are reopening, right, and taking responsibility for their part in that process, right? And Diamonds, as I'm talking about that, is wanting to do so successfully, right? Diamonds is all about energy and putting the energy into something being successful. The 3 of Diamonds, I should say the 3 of Spades, excuse me, starting off the line, is talking about a situation in which there is some uncertainty. One of my meanings for the 3 of Spades is confusion and uncertainty, and it's usually due to some misunderstanding, right? But it can also be about a problem, because the suit of Spades for me can represent problems, troubles, obstacles, and difficulties. And when the 3 of Spades shows up, it's about not wanting those problems or those challenges to become worse. This could be a problem that could be growing and developing, because the 3 for me represents growth and development, and potentially could get worse, right? So I'm seeing that in light of what's going on here, and it could be a mist of this taking place, and I'm still focusing on the idea about businesses, reopening and things of that nature. Then this could be the potential here for that to become worse, or helping the problem become worse. And I'm talking about maybe a spike with more coronavirus cases, new cases, right? So there's that. Now, if we're talking about communication issues, right, then this card could be mindful of how we communicate with other people this week, because we don't want to have any misunderstandings or any confusions with that process, right? Now, with both scenarios being presented with the 6 of Diamonds in the middle, this is a card that would suggest a creative mind. I tend to think of the suit of Spades as also representing the mind and mental activity, and then the 3 is a number of creativity. So this is about creative thinking, having a creative mind or mindset, or that we are going to tackle problems creatively, right? So there is that. So if we are going to address certain situations with either the computers or technology as a means of communication, or that for those businesses that are going to be reopening to jumpstart or restart the economy, and the responsibility, I should say, on those businesses' parts, then this is about creative thinking, right? Creative thinking so the problem doesn't become worse. And I'm talking about the virus, right? So that's what I'm seeing with the 3 of spades. So now let's take a look at the card in between. And here we have the Queen of Clubs. So this could represent a woman, because when I read playing cards, all queens represent women, right? And so I'm noticing that the queen is looking at the 3 of spades, right? So this could be a woman who's in business, because the clubs can represent work or business. So a woman who's in business looking at a situation creatively. Remember, this is about creative mindset, so she doesn't make a problem worse for herself or for other people, right? So there is that. It could also be a woman is facing some sort of confusion or misunderstanding, and it may have to do with communication, right? With the 6 of diamonds behind her, this could be a message that she is sending or has sent, and as a result of that, she may be facing some misunderstanding or communication. In this regard, the 6 of diamonds can be a smartphone. Remember, I talked about technology and the 6 being about communication. This could be even something having to do with a smartphone. So that would be maybe sending a message through voicemail or text, but using the phone to do it as a means of communication, right? So there is that. It could also be that a woman who is in business is wanting to do something helpful for society, because sometimes this is about service and service for the good of humankind. The 6 of diamonds, right? Wanting to do some kind of service because she sees a problem that could potentially get worse, and she wants to help with that, because the Queen of Clubs can represent a woman who is helpful. Okay, so those are all aspects of the Queen being a person. Oh, and the last thing I wanted to say is that sometimes this card can represent a female friend. So there may be, for some people, needing to put some attention on a possible communication issue with a female friend. Okay, so that's if the Queen of Clubs is a woman. But what if she's not? Then queens can represent caring and nurturing, right? So this could be the idea here that we're putting some attention on caring and nurturing for the public, or caring and nurturing on a social level, or dealing with a social matter, because the suit of clubs can represent things that are public and things that are social, right? So it could be work and business, but it could also be a business that caters to the public, or a business that is more of a social type of slant, or maybe social conscious, or something of that nature. But it's usually something that has to do with the public, or something that has to do on a social level, or in a social context, right? So it could just be caring enough about other people, but also caring about business. It's about caring and nurturing on a business level, but also caring and nurturing about other people. And that would make sense as to why the queen is facing this, right? Caring and nurturing about other people so we don't make an existing problem worse. So I see this is twofold. Maybe the message here is, how can we care and nurture ourselves, but also care and nurture other people who may be facing either some confusion or uncertainty, or a situation that could be potentially getting worse. And if you just heard that, that is my phone in the background. That was Siri. And I have no idea why Siri wanted to jump into the conversation, but I will say, when things like that happen, I'm a big believer that everything is a part of the experience. And so there you go. I think she was validating what I was saying as that last point. And I'm being reminded that I talked about computers and technology and smartphones, right? And so that was my smartphone going off. Even though I set it off, which is very interesting, it still beeped. Okay. So there we have that thing with the smartphone right in action during the reading. All right, so now let's take a look at what's on the other side of the line. starting with the card closest to the six of diamonds, and here we have the two of diamonds. Okay, so here we have two diamonds repeating. So ruling majority right now, diamonds is the suit that represents material concerns. It represents energy, putting energy into a situation, things like that. So here we have the two of diamonds, and two things come to mind. This could be searching for answers to life's questions, and I'm seeing this in regards to the three of spades opening the line up. Remember, this is about having a creative mind or mindset or creative thinking around a problem or a challenge or a trouble or obstacle, right? So here we are. And, you know, doing so that the existing problem doesn't become worse or grows and develops, right? So that would be searching for an answer in that regard, right? Because we're experiencing that now. And this would open the line up saying that this problem is already here, it's already existing, right? So there's that. The other thing, if we're talking about businesses and financial responsibility, then the two of diamonds can represent issues around getting paid, because this is about payments. So this could be about giving and receiving of money. It could also be, what's coming to me in the moment now, financial responsibility, six of diamonds, but this is also payments being made, right? So this is about, for maybe the existing businesses, caring and nurturing about work and business, right, that are existing and experiencing problems, potentially problems that could grow and develop. Then this is about the benefit or the relief or the aid, because the two of diamonds in that regard for me can be about financial aid or financial support or financial help, right? So there is that as well. And who's going to be responsible for that process, right? Or if there is going to be communication and misunderstanding about that, how can that be cleared up, right? It's making me feel like this is second go around with Congress establishing aid for people who are in business, right? Remember now I said this could be a businesswoman, right? But people who are in business who are struggling, there was some sort of confusion or misunderstanding, or maybe even people who felt that they were lied to about that process. Well, here it is again, right? And having the people who maybe were part of the lie, and I'm using finger quotes for that, part of the lie, quote unquote, or the misunderstanding or the confusion, needing to take responsibility for how this is communicated going forward, right? So I'm seeing that aspect. But it could just be that the businesses that are reopening at this time about, getting paid and having money come in. And I'm seeing this. We have the six of diamonds, and then we go down to the two of diamonds. We have a decrease here, right? So this could just be that those businesses, even though they may be having money come in, it may be not at the level it was before they had to close, right? So that would still show the possibility here of some problems with income, even if they're reopening businesses and starting to make money again, right? It may not be at the level that they were doing before they had to close up shop, so to speak. Okay, so now let's take a look at the final card, rounding things out. And here we have the nine of clubs. Okay, so now the first thing I wanted to say, going back to the two of diamonds just for a moment, I'm seeing, even though some businesses are still reopening, restaurants are still going to be faced with challenges here, because the two of diamonds for me can represent food, it could represent the stomach, and it just occurred to me that restaurants still might not be able to open up to what they were accustomed to in the past, just because of practicing social distancing. How are they going to do that? Those kinds of things. So I'm seeing that, right, with the two of diamonds. Okay, so now I can move on to the last card, rounding things out. The nine of clubs for me is a card that can turn up to represent time and distance, right? So the three of spades, if I mirror the two cards, three of spades at the one end and the nine of clubs at the opposite end represents a problem that gets worked out. It gets worked out over time, though, right? Because this card can represent coming a long way, right? So it's making me feel like things will work out. The diamonds represent rewards and success. And we have two clubs here again, showing again about business, something on a public level or a social level, working out because the 9 is the number of gain and attainment. So I see some businesses coming back and gaining or attaining business, but it will be over time, right? Because there are some things that still need to be worked out. The clubs represent work or effort being put into a situation, right? So I'm seeing that this is progress being made, but it will be made over time because things need to be worked out. But I see some types of businesses, more so than others, gaining some traction and getting some business back. But it still may not be at the level as it was before those businesses had to close, but they will be coming back. It's going to take a matter of time, right? As they work out the situation with the coronavirus, right? So I'm seeing that with the 9 of clubs. This card usually represents for me what's the lesson in the journey, because this card can represent psychological aspects of a journey, spiritual aspects of a journey, that kind of thing. And then going back to this card, the 6 of diamonds as the focus, could also be about psychology. So there may be something about people's mental well-being that we need to take into account over the course of this week. I'm seeing 2 things. Number one, with the people who are still practicing social distancing and staying at home and all of that kind of thing, the situation may be wearing on them on a mental level, right? And so we may need to feel inclined with friends or, family members to check in with people to see how they're doing mentally. Also, to the people who are in business, the longer that they stay out of business, what kind of toll is that taking on their mental well-being as well? That kind of thing. But I'm seeing 3 cards here that make me think about the psychological aspects of the situation playing out over the course of the week. So on that note, I will go ahead and end this week's Oracle Outlook. I'm James Himm Mitchell, and as I wrap up, I'd like to thank you for sharing space here with me for this week's reading, and I look forward to sharing the same space with you again in our next video reading together. So until then, I'm hoping that you have the best day possible, and I'm hoping that you have the best week possible. Take care.